She banged on the door like she owned the place. I was still cleaning my boots when I heard, "Open up, this is HOA enforcement. You're in violation." I stepped outside, calm as ever. She stood there, arms crossed, fake badge hanging off her neck, two rent-a-cops behind her looking awkward and unsure. "You've got illegal firearms on the property," she snapped. I looked her dead in the eye and said, "I've got legal shotguns locked in my own home. You got a real warrant?" She didn't flinch. "This whole street is under HOA jurisdiction now, and we're authorized to confiscate." That's when I noticed the paper taped to my door, a fake-looking HOA notice printed off some cheap inkjet. I peeled it off slow, never breaking. Eye contact. "You typed this at home, didn't you?" I asked. Her smile faded just a little. "I'm calling the sheriff," I said. One of the fake cops stepped forward, hand near his belt. "Sir, stand down." But I didn't move. I've stood still in firefights hotter than this. I wasn't just some guy with a beard and a garage full of tools. I trained the people who train U.S. Army Rangers. And these three had no idea they were stepping on government-owned land leased to me personally, authorized for classified instruction. "If you take one more step toward that door," I warned, "you'll be on federal property without clearance." Karen, that's what the neighborhood calls her, even though her name's actually Brenda, laughed. "You think your Army stories scare me?" That's when my dog, Brutus, came out and stood by my side. "No," I said, "but the surveillance cameras will." I pointed up at the corner of my porch, then to the tree line. "Smile. You're being recorded from 5 angles, and trust me, I have friends who don't like stolen valor." Her face twitched, but she covered it with a smirk. "You're just bluffing." I smiled back. "Try me. Viral line. You brought fake cops to my land? Lady, I train real killers." She didn't leave. Even after my warning, even after realizing she was being filmed, Brenda planted her feet like she owned the dirt under them. One of her fake officers whispered something to her, probably telling her this wasn't worth it. But she waved him off like he was a waiter bringing the wrong wine. "Remove the weapons now," she ordered, "or we'll have to enter and seize." That's when I stepped down from the porch, slow, deliberate, boots hitting the steps like thunder. I got close enough for her to smell the burnt gun oil on my shirt. "You touch my door, and you're going to jail. Real jail. Not HOA imaginary. Jail." She tried to hold her ground, but her voice cracked a little this time. "You're being hostile. This is a threat." "No," I said. "This is a statement. You just impersonated a government official, trespassed on restricted property, and tried to seize firearms without a warrant. You're the threat." Her face turned pale. One of the fake officers took off his badge and quietly stepped back. "Ma'am," he said, "we should go. This isn't right." But Brenda wouldn't. "Back down." She reached into her purse and pulled out her phone. "You'll be hearing from the HOA board. I have connections." I tilted my head. "Oh, you mean the same HOA that dissolved 3 years ago? The one the county shut down for fraud?" She froze. "Yeah." She didn't know I had copies of those court records. I'd kept them just in case she ever tried this stunt. I walked back inside and came out with a file folder, slapped it into her hands. "Pages 2 through 9. Your name's on half of them. Fake notices, forged signatures, illegal fines. That's not HOA authority. That's criminal activity." She looked like someone pulled the ground from under her feet. And just when it seemed like she might bolt, red and shaking, the real siren started echoing down the hill. Viral line. "Ma'am, the only law here is the one I trained to enforce." The cruiser rolled up slow, dust curling behind it like a warning. Real police, county sheriff's department, not the play-pretend clowns Brenda dragged with her. The moment she saw the badge on the windshield, her whole body stiffened. Her hand went to her hair like fixing it would clean up the mess she just made. I crossed my arms and leaned against my porch post, watching her panic grow by the second. The deputy stepped out, broad, calm, and already scanning the scene. "We got a report of a weapons violation?" he asked, tone neutral but eyes sharp. Brenda rushed toward him like a damsel in distress. Yes, officer. This man is hoarding illegal firearms and threatened me. He even sicked a dog on us. Brutus, still lounging on the steps, gave a soft woof like he knew exactly what she was saying. The deputy didn't even look at her. He looked at me. You armed right now? Nope, I said. Everything's locked, registered, and inside. She's the one impersonating an HOA official and brought fake enforcement onto private land. That's when I handed over the file. This will explain everything. Pages are marked. He took it, flipped through fast. His jaw tensed. Where'd you get this? I'm the reason that HOA got shut down, I replied. She's trying to resurrect it like it's her personal kingdom. Brenda laughed nervously. He's twisting everything. I'm on the board. There is no board. The deputy cut her off. This HOA doesn't exist anymore, and this address is leased to a federal training contractor. You're about 3 steps away from serious charges, ma'am. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. The other fake officer, the one who'd stepped back earlier, raised his hands. I didn't know. She said it was official. The deputy nodded. We'll sort that out, but you, he pointed at Brenda, stay right there. You're not going anywhere. I could see it hitting her all at once. The weight of what she'd just stepped into. Fake authority. Real consequences. Viral. Line. You tried to play sheriff on land protected by the U.S. government. Brenda's smile was gone now. Her hand started shaking as she clutched that useless file folder like it might save her. The deputy walked her to the cruiser, not cuffing her yet. But you could feel it coming. You impersonated law enforcement, he said flatly. You posted fake legal notices, and you trespassed on federal land. That's not just a misunderstanding, that's a felony. I didn't know it was federal, she barked, voice breaking. No one told me. The deputy didn't flinch. That's not how the law works, and it sure doesn't excuse hiring fake cops to intimidate a resident. As they talked, I looked over at the second fake officer, the one still holding his fake badge like it meant something. I walked up, to him, kept my voice calm. You military? He shook his head. No, sir. She just said it was HOA security. I needed the money. You're lucky, I said. Because if you'd stepped foot past that door, you wouldn't be walking away with just a warning. He nodded, eyes wide. I believe you. Brenda, on the other hand, wasn't letting go. This isn't right. He's the one who's dangerous. He has military weapons. The deputy turned slowly and said, Ma'am, he's certified to train active duty rangers. He's got clearance I don't even have. She blinked, stunned. That's not possible. I smiled. I don't hang flags on my porch for decoration. She tried one last thing, the classic move. She started filming. This is harassment, she shouted into her phone. This man is threatening me. The deputy didn't even blink. Ma'am, turn that off. You're under investigation. And if you post anything online, you're interfering with an ongoing case. For a second, she stood frozen, phone trembling in her hand. Then she looked at me one last time, full of hate and fear, and hissed, This isn't over. I leaned, in just enough so only she could hear. It was over the second you stepped on my land. Viral line. Some people fight for power, others fight for peace. You messed with the wrong one. They finally put her in the back of the cruiser. No cuffs yet, just silence, which somehow felt louder than sirens ever could. She kept staring at me through the rear window like she still didn't believe this was happening. Like the world owed her something and it forgot to deliver. I didn't look away. People like her only understand one thing. Consequence. The deputy came back toward me, calm but a little more respectful now. You got documentation for your firearms, just to close the loop? I nodded and walked him to the safe inside. Fingerprint lock, 2-step verification. Opened it clean. Registered, trained, certified, I said, and used only where it's legal. He glanced at the layout, nodded slowly. I've seen less discipline in some precincts. That's why I train the ones who actually want to come home, I replied. Back outside, the second fake officer was still waiting. The deputy turned to him. You're free to go. But if we find your name on any HOA impersonation paperwork, we'll be knocking." He nodded fast, practically jogging to his car. "Won't happen again," he muttered. I watched him drive off, then looked back at the cruiser. Brenda sat there, breathing heavy like she was still trying to spin this in her head, still figuring out how the script flipped on her so fast. Then something strange happened. She smiled. It wasn't victory, it was something else, something quieter. She leaned back and mouthed something through the glass. I stepped closer to see. She mouthed it again. "This goes higher." My gut twisted. That wasn't a bluff. That was a warning. And suddenly, I realized this wasn't just about a fake HOA or some Karen power trip. Someone sent her, and they didn't expect me to fight back this hard. Viral line. She wasn't just crazy. She was a test run. That night I didn't sleep, not because of fear. I've seen worse things overseas in the pitch-black silence of enemy territory. But something about her words kept echoing. This goes higher. It wasn't just a threat. It felt like a signal, like I'd interrupted something bigger. Around 2 a.m., I got a ping on one of my surveillance monitors. Motion detected near the eastern tree line, right where my land meets the abandoned county road. I pulled up the feed. 2 figures, no lights, no sound. One of them had what looked like a clipboard, the other was taking photos. I didn't wait. I grabbed my flashlight, slipped on my jacket, and stepped out. Quiet steps, boots silent on the gravel. Brutus stayed close, his ears up, but steady. We moved through the brush like ghosts. They didn't see me coming. "Federal land," I said, flashlight snapping on. "Turn around now." They froze. One dropped the clipboard. The other backed up, hands up. "We're just here to inspect the boundary line," he stammered. "In the dark?" I stepped closer, shining the light right in his face. "You work for the county?" He blinked. Private firm, hired by the local development board." There it was. I knew they'd been trying to rezone this area, turn private land into some luxury retreat or pipeline access, and I'd been the one thorn in their side. But now they weren't sending lawyers, they were sending people at night. With cameras. "Tell Brenda I said hi," I muttered, taking a photo of their plates as they scrambled to their truck. They didn't argue. They just peeled out into the night, tires spitting gravel. Back inside, I checked my files again. I had maps, lease papers, even sealed military authorizations. Everything was tight, legal, untouchable. But they didn't care about legal. They were pushing, testing, seeing how far they could go. Karen wasn't a crazy neighbor. She was the first domino. Viral, a line. They thought I'd be quiet. They didn't know I've trained for wars bigger than this. By morning, I had already sent footage from the night before to a friend at the state attorney's office. Not just a friend, former ranger, now working legal oversight on land disputes. He didn't need much explanation. One look at those late-night visitors and he was already dialing back channels. "You're sitting on a hot zone," he said. "They've been trying to flip that entire strip of land. Quietly. Your lease is the last obstacle." "So they send a fake HOA and some goons in the dark?" He sighed. "It's how these things start. Soft pressure, threats wrapped in neighborhood smiles. They keep pushing until someone either folds or gets loud." I looked out at the tree line. "Well, I'm getting loud," he chuckled. "I figured. I'll run the plates. Keep your cams rolling." By noon, things escalated. Again, a black SUV pulled up. Not sheriff, not local, no tags. Guy in a suit stepped out. Clean, too clean. Clipboard in one hand, mirrored shades hiding everything else. "Mr. Hayes?" he asked. "Who's asking?" He flashed a card. "County Development Liaison. We're here to discuss zoning overlaps." I didn't take the card. Zoning overlaps don't roll up in unmarked vehicles. He smiled like a man used to being obeyed. "We'd appreciate your cooperation. You're currently training on land we believe was improperly extended during the last lease cycle. We may need to suspend activities pending a full review. I stepped off the porch, Brutus at my heel. You show up without notice, no paperwork, no county seal, and then you expect access? He tilted his head. You're welcome to dispute it, but we'll be back. And next time with a warrant. I let that hang in the air. You better bring more than a clipboard, because next time, I'll have press. And 3 former senators watching live. His smile cracked for a second. Just enough. They were testing again, pushing to see if I'd blink. I didn't. After he left, I made 3 calls, 1 to my attorney, 1 to a journalist I trusted, and 1 to a former ranger who owed me a favor. Brenda wasn't the threat. She was the cover. The real storm hadn't even started yet. Viral line. They came for my land with paper lies. But I've got steel truth. The next day the fight went public, not by me, by them. A local news segment ran a sudden story about unauthorized weapons training happening on disputed land. They didn't mention my name, but they showed a blurred photo of my property and hinted at residential safety concerns. The footage was shaky, like it came from someone hiding in the trees. They were laying the groundwork. I knew what came next. Pressure from the community, fear-mongering, officials pretending to respond to complaints. Sure enough, 3 HOA-styled flyers appeared on fences up and down the road that same afternoon. All unsigned, all claiming the area would soon be redeveloped into safe family housing. Safe from what? From veterans training for war? From people who actually fought for the freedom they're now twisting? That night I went live. Just me, standing in front of the porch with the flag behind me. No script, just truth. I've served this country on 3 continents. I've trained men who've saved lives you'll never hear about. And now, because I refuse to sell my land, they send fake HOAs, night stalkers, and smear pieces on the news? Let me be clear. I'm not going anywhere. This land is leased through federal contracts confirmed by court rulings and protected under veteran service clauses. You want it? Get a court order and bring an army. It hit hard. Within an hour, the video had 70,000 views. Then something I didn't expect happened. Messages started rolling in, not threats, not warnings, support. People I hadn't heard from in years. Parents of soldiers I trained, even a congressman's aide. One message simply read, "They tried this in Texas last year. You stopped them just in time." Wait, I dug deeper, pulled public records, made calls. Turns out this development board wasn't local at all. It was part of a shell company tied to a national redevelopment network. They'd been quietly flipping rural land under the disguise of community safety, using HOAs, using fake compliance, letters, using people like Brenda to stir the pot. They picked the wrong ranch this time. Viral line. This wasn't about a house or a shotgun. This was about a system that thought I'd roll over.